Hey family, thanks for tuning in. I'm Ant, this is BT. The purpose of our show is to give a black perspective toward controversial and uncomfortable subjects. Unapologetic is a safe space for us and our viewers to embrace those difficult conversations. So with that being said, let's get into it. BT, how you feeling today?
I'm all right. We had a good weekend. We went to that Harper Kid Foundation charity event Saturday. That was dope. Shout out to Lene. She put on for the city for sure doing that. I'm a Falcons fan, so I think y'all know how that went. So we don't need to talk about that much any further. How was your weekend, my man?
Well, on the opposite end, I'm a Bears fan, so my weekend went very well. So that, in addition to Lene's amazing foundation that we were blessed to be a part of, that was awesome. I had a great weekend.
Yep, yes, sir.
So today we're going to discuss the most recent case of Breonna Taylor and the most recent verdict that got handed down recently. With that being said, I want to give a little background information to preface what we're going to be speaking about, so people kind of have a little general overview background of the story.
Right.
So it all started on March 13th, the entire incident. The police executed a no-knock warrant to the home of Breonna Taylor, where her and her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, were staying at the time. The purpose of the no-knock warrant was for the police to see if there were drugs inside, because they had suspicion that there were drugs inside. Throughout it all, they found that there were no drugs there, but that was their reasoning for it. After that, the cops showed up. They said that they announced themselves. Later on, Kenneth Walker and some neighbors claimed that they did not hear that knock. The police proceeded to walk into the home. They knocked in because they had a no-knock warrant, was shot, and someone died that day. So it was very, very unfortunate. Fast forward, and recently there was a verdict that came down where a judge decided that the police officer would not be charged for the murder or any type of harm toward Breonna Taylor, and that there was just a wanton endangerment filed against the police officer, because the police officer, once he fired off his bullets, it went into the apartment of a nearby neighbor. So there was nothing in the Breonna Taylor case specifically that the officer was charged for. I just want to also include that although Kenneth Walker did fire a shot, he was a legal gun carrier, and it was in Louisville, Kentucky, where it is a stand your ground state. So I think those are important things to mention when you take in consideration the entire scope of everything. With that being said, BT, I know it's a lot to take in, a lot to digest. What were your initial thoughts and feelings about the verdict? And I want to put an emphasis on your feelings, because I feel like a lot of times we don't voice our feelings, especially as black people. We internalize a lot of things and we tend to bottle it up, and it comes out maybe the wrong way, whether it be mentally or physically in actual action. So I want to know what your thoughts and feelings are toward it.
Yeah, so first off, I want to just start off by mentioning rest in peace, Breonna Taylor.
Yes.
Another life gone at the hands of police that we prefer to not, of course, no, there's never a good day when somebody's life is taken. But it is a situation that could have been avoided, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Now, when we talk about feelings, and I know that's what you want me to speak towards initially, the biggest thing that I will say with feelings, from my perspective, is that you hear the verdict come out, and there's a lot to digest, right? And that's from a legal standpoint, but also an emotional standpoint. I'll touch on both of those shortly. So from an emotional standpoint, I get enraged by the initial response by some common citizens that they feel the need to defend the case reactions initially, right? And it always comes back to a dehumanizing or decharacterizing a person. I don't understand why, no matter what happened in the case, there's the situation that it comes down and they say, well, Breonna Taylor was involved with drug dealers. She wasn't, and it's just she shouldn't surround herself around the wrong people. Everybody in this world is human. Everybody makes their own mistakes. Everybody has made questionable decisions in their life. I know I have. I'm human as well. And those are things that you'll have to deal with and have to live with. But at the end of the day, a life does not need to be taken just because they were involved in some bad things. That's what the justice system is for. That's what the courts are for. Their job is to filter them through the proper processes, right? To handle that. I don't need to hear or need to be told, well, she had questionable decisions. Why does a life have to be taken? I know numerous people that their friends are out here, doing drugs, doing everything wild, and they're okay with justifying that. Now, I asked them that same question. If that were to happen to one of their friends, would they be in comments saying, well, they have made questionable decisions, was doing drugs, they shouldn't have did that? No. I guarantee you it wouldn't happen like that. So that was my initial feelings towards the initial lashback of what came out from the case.
Right.
From a legal perspective, I was not shocked whatsoever. And I know that might take people back a little bit. From the statutes of the law of what they operated in, and I'll get into that in a little bit, there's no way in the world they would have been charged for murder. They wouldn't have been charged, not even remotely close, right? Due to the fact that there was gunfire involved from both sides, which I'll touch on in a little bit as well. Here's my biggest issue with it. There's a situation that you're basically inviting the inevitable, that you're going to have somebody shoot at you.
Yeah.
You have civilian clothes on, doing a no-knock entry. Why would you not be in police uniform? At least give Kenneth the opportunity to address or acknowledge that you're the police before he even shoots at you. You have no body cameras on, which in that type of process and procedure is illegal.
Correct.
Why are the cops not being held accountable for that? Now, I know everybody wants to go out and scream they should be charged with murder. But at the end of the day, let's try to charge them with the things that we really can hold them guilty for in a court of law. Thirdly, the no-knock arrest warrant. Insane. That shouldn't be a thing. That should not be a law. That shouldn't be enabled. You are literally inviting somebody to come into your house, and like you said, it's a stand your ground state. If somebody walked into my house, or not even bust down the door into my house at midnight, what do you think I'm going to do? Especially in a stand your ground state like that. Secondly, there's a lot of people that's like, oh, he shot at a cop, what do you expect to happen? These are the same people that are trying to defend this point that are strongly stick with the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. These are the same people that are in comments berating Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker, and I don't think they are giving that same due just because it's a black person.
Right.
I don't think that's fair whatsoever. So when you start to take in the legality behind it, I don't think that they should have been charged with murder, because that's not through the process of what happened. There's no way the courts could have proved that. Now, what I do think could have happened was they could be charged for not having that body camera. I do think laws need to be changed so that the cops are not basically entrapping a person in the position where he feels like he needs to defend himself in the middle of the night against the law force.
Right.
The no-knock arrest warrant law was actually implemented after Breonna's death, which just goes to show that the state even knows that no-knock arrest warrants don't make sense. They don't make sense, right? So from the fact that they even did, abolish that, you can't retroactively go back and punish the police force for doing a no-knock arrest warrant after you've already changed the law after it. So from my initial responses, I expected this to go down the way it did. I wish there was a couple other ways that it would have went, but from the way that the laws are set up, they're systemically set up to disable you to have a chance to fight and go against the laws on the courts, or go against officers in the court of the law, especially with given their personal relationship with the courts. These officers are hanging around the lawyers, the judges, day in and day out, week in and week out. They probably know each other's families on a personal basis. I know for a fact they do, because I have a cousin, or my uncle is in law enforcement in Chicago, and he goes through that same thing as well. So it's hard, it's gut-wrenching, it's heartbreaking to try to swallow, but those are my initial responses to that. So I'm gonna let you wrap and get a lot off your chest, but my initial question to you is that where do you attribute the lack of justice that came from this case? Do you attribute most of it towards her being a black woman and never getting a fair eye in the law of courts in the first place, or do you attribute it towards the laws being set up the way they are and they enabled the cops to be able to do these type of things?
Well, I think that's a great question. I definitely think it's a combination too, but to answer your question specifically, I think the majority of it goes to the fact that she is a black woman. I do feel that if it was a white woman, blonde hair, blue eyes, or a white male, I do feel that there would have been a different outcome or different verdict. And if it was the exact same case, there were far too many instances where there's a black person involved in a very similar situation that a white person has been in, and the verdict is completely different as far as there being a lack of accountability or a lack of response toward it. So I do feel that it is more of the Breonna being a black woman as far as the reason why the outcome what it was. But I do also want to touch on my emotions and feelings about it.
Yeah.
Initially, I felt a combination of things. I felt sadness. I felt anger. I was frustrated. I was infuriated. And I just felt deeply sad. And I felt like a hole was in my heart. I felt like Breonna was my sister, which she is in a different type of,
Because that can happen to anyone.
Yeah, it really could. So it hurt me very deeply. With that being said, my thoughts toward it was I was not surprised at the outcome, just like you were. I personally, and I have spoken to other people that are black in the black community that are numb to it, just like I am. We're numb to these type of outcomes where there is no lack of accountability whatsoever whenever there's clear wrongdoing. To your point, at the very little things or smaller things such as body cameras, not even the killing, even the little things like body cameras or the police report. I'm extremely numb to it, and I think that's very sad that myself and others in the black community are becoming numb to it because we are so used to this. That should not be a norm on any level. No one should have to feel normalized by something like this. This should be a shocker to us. But sadly, it wasn't to me and it wasn't to many other people. And it really hurts to know that this was expected and that was the outcome. With that being said, I like here at Unapologetic, we're all about solutions. So I want to know, in your thoughts, what is a solution to try to prevent something of this nature from happening again?
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit. I truly think that the solution has to come from a legislative standpoint. Mm-hmm. There are laws currently that enable, they actively enable these law enforcement officers to act under a code or procedures that don't make sense to the common citizen, right? For instance, if somebody has a knife pulled on an officer, he has the right to shoot them.
Right.
Since when did a knife ever win in a gunfight? Especially with somebody that's supposed to be serving and protecting, right?
Right.
These people, no one's perfect, right? But there should be situations and scenarios where they're trained, which they're supposed to be trained, right, to be able to handle situations like these so that the outcomes are optimal, right?
Preventative.
We don't want people to die. We don't want to continue to see our black brothers, mothers, and sisters on the news.
Not at all.
For avoidable situations. And that goes back to even what we discussed with the situation that happened in Kenosha. There's 5 officers standing around, and man, he gets shot in the back 7 times. If the situation was really at the point where they felt like you were out of control, you can't tell me that 5 officers can't take down that guy.
Right.
Time after time, what happens is a settlement comes and it happens. They pay out the family, and they think they can just move on from that. At the end of the day, that lost void, that hole in the heart from that family, they'll never be able to recover from that, and no amount of money or settlement can fix that.
I love that you touch on that point as far as not being able to, that money doesn't replace anything. So that's why one of my solutions is keep her name alive. And not just her name, but every other name that is lost during this police brutality. Keep her name alive, and that's not only in the moment when the case is currently going on. This is a year from now. This is 2 years from now. This is 10 years from now. I think that these type of incidents should be in history books. These should never be forgotten. Keep her name alive. We should never just let it be a moment, let it be a blimp. This should be something that we never forget, because this can have an impact later on down the line. All these instances, and they remember Breonna Taylor's name, and her name can be the backbone of a new legislative something being put in place that prevents these type of things. So keep her name alive so that they never forget. And lastly, I want to say vote. And a lot of people are saying that in a very general term. They're saying vote, and a lot of people receive that as vote for the president. Right. It is more than the president that you need to vote for. A lot of these incidents and the outcome of these incidents happen on a local level, i.e. your local judges, your local police officers, your local town sheriffs, whatever the case may be.
City council,
everything. A lot of these outcomes are local. Your attorney general, a lot of these are local. So you have to educate yourself on who is in office locally, and you need to get out there and vote for those people as well, not just the president, because a lot of these things you can prevent. You have power in that. Your vote counts. So get out there, educate yourself, and vote locally as well.
I agree with that. Yeah. So I know that, at times we have to have difficult conversations, right? And that's what Unapologetic is made for, and that's what we stand on, is the fact that, not everything is going to be sunshines, rainbows, and butterflies, right? But we want to do it in a healthy manner, and that's what we're here for. So on a brighter note, after we've, given our pep talk, and I hope that people really digest it, because this is how a lot of us from the Black community and people of color feel.
Yeah.
But on a brighter note, I want to announce that we are hosting, or will be hosting for the duration of our show, Minority Small Business of the Month.
Yes,
we're all about trying to get active in our communities and really trying to uplift and provide opportunity and support. Be a change to the community and support and sponsor our fellow Black members of business and of non-for-profit. So always as a reminder, our charity of the month, that Harper Kid Foundation, again, we had that fantastic charity event, but we want to get back to Dolph Golf. Dolph Golf is the Minority Small Business of the Month. We're promoting. We got my boy Vic Hendo is the owner and the curator of Dolph Golf. I've known that man back since high school. Been knowing him for years. Milwaukee and Chicago-based company, clothing and apparel. And we have all his links that will be posted in the description of our page. And we'll share all his socials as well moving forward from that. So this, I feel like I can go out and get jiggy in this. Once the COVID falls back a little bit, we can get out and get it back to our stuff. So that's Vic, Dolph Golf, Small Business of the Month.
Most definitely. Shout out to Dolph Golf. We appreciate you providing us with the apparel. Go out, go check him out, check out his site. With that being said, we're going to get into the challenge. This week's challenge, we're going to have a challenge every week for you all, because there's no better thing than going out there and actually putting action behind what you're thinking about and what you're talking about. So this week's challenge is more for your mental health. I'm challenging everyone to go out and speak to someone. And this is not to have a debate. This is just simply to be heard. Express your feelings. If you have any type of level of frustration about this entire case, get out and go speak to someone that you are comfortable with. And if you don't have that person, that's fine. Guess what? You got Unapologetic.
Yeah, that's what we here
so
for.
Feel free to go into the comments and speak your piece as far as what you feel, or if you aren't comfortable enough yet, feel free to DM us. We'll be glad to listen to you. Like I said, it's not about it being a debate. Just express how you're feeling and get that off your chest. All right. With that being said, thanks for tuning in. As a reminder, we'll be airing every Wednesday evening. Please like, comment, subscribe. We would love to hear your thoughts. Spread love. It's contagious. God bless.